Is there a Liz over there? Could it be? Yay! There, move my screen so I'm not like looking far away.
I was
Oh,
like, oh, I think I could see you, but you were muted. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. I can't see anything but my profile pic. And I was like, oh, right. I have to unmute myself.
how's it going, girl?
Good. I'm over in Glasgow still.
I figured. I was like, does she realize what time this is gonna be at when you said sure?
After I sent the email, I was like, wow, it's gonna be 10:30. I was like, so we're just gonna have a cup of tea ready and then we'll just crash right afterwards.
Oh my gosh. Is this what like the time you usually would Skype with friends back home or no?
No, we usually kind of do like random midday and it's based off of whenever they're not like working or doing something. And then I've been in lockdown most of the time, so I'm just sitting here like I'm free as a bird whenever.
You sound different.
Oh,
You have a little
really?
like accent. Yeah.
Oh, are you sure it's not just me making one of those weird accents by myself?
Could be. There's a little bit of like, I don't know, like more bass to your voice, but maybe it's because of like where you're sitting right now. But
It
like,
could be. I have it up higher and like there's weird echoes in my flat. So
I don't know. I think you're like dragging out like certain vowels. By the end of
well,
this
I am
sentence,
developing a Scotland accent.
that's cool.
I also don't know how to spell anymore, so that's fun because in the US we dropped all the extra vowels, but guess what? Over here they kept them. So
I'm gonna let Joel in and
all right,
talk shop for a second.
sounds good.
Hey Joel, I'm gonna make you co-host.
Hello. I was waving to you and didn't realize my video was off. Yep, that's not helpful.
Yes. Have you met Liz before? I can't remember if you were
I think
our
once.
I think so, yeah. I definitely know your name, that's for sure.
She's popular.
Yeah, I think the last year, my senior year, I think you showed up for a virtual fair, and that was the one time we met.
I think you're right.
I did notice, Joel, your volume kind of like was really low. Do you want to test that?
Is it okay?
That's okay now. Okay. So yeah, you can see I have a shared screen here. So I'm gonna have students when they enter in like 2 minutes, I'll start admitting students as they join and I'll prompt them to use the chat. Liz, feel free to chat away in the chat during Joel's presentation. But basically what we'll do is we'll do a welcome and introductions. I think we'll wait to introduce the panel until it's time to start the panel. So Joel and I will do our introductions and then I'll pass it over to Joel for the presentation. And that will last about 15-20 minutes. And then we'll have 2 panelists. We did have more, but some people have let me know they're unable to join. So we'll have Liz and then Sydney. So Sydney did a study abroad in Ghana. And that was actually with a Michigan Tech professor. So it was kind of like a faculty led in a way. So we'll have the panel and then we'll save 10 minutes at the end for questions from the audience. So we will end about 6:25, 6:30. We'll see how things are going. I believe Joel shared some questions with you ahead of time. If not, you can just come up with answers. And I may add some questions too, just if we kind of get through the responses really fast, since there's only 2 of you now as panelists. But we'll see how that goes. But making sure that students are able to ask questions as well. And we'll encourage them to use the chat too. Like if you don't want to unmute your video or your voice, they can just enter the questions in the chat. I'll be uploading some resources to the chat, so some files. I'll kind of wait until we get started, maybe like 10 minutes in, because if I were to start adding things right away, and if students joined us later, they won't have a history of the chat. So it's
Gotcha.
better for me just to kind of upload things like midway through. What I'll have is like our 10 steps guide, a flyer for tomorrow's events, and some other resources. So I'll throw those in after we get started a little bit. And
Okay.
Joel, I'll send you the registration list afterwards because we did have one last registration person, so I anticipated
Cool.
that happening. So I'll send that to you so you have it. But yeah, this will be fun.
How did it, you said yesterday it went okay?
Yeah, we had the faculty-led session. So what we did is we invited all our faculty and then students to one Zoom room, and then all the faculty had separate Zoom links for their sessions. So then the students left the session, I stayed there in the room, and then they all rotated to different sessions for an hour. So like each presentation was like 20 minutes or so. But we had 50 students sign up for that one. It was a good turnout.
Good.
Compared to, I think, Liz, were you part of the fireside chat in the MUB and like nobody showed up?
Heck yeah, it was.
Had like
That
little
was-
in a cup. I think one student happened to be walking by. He's like, "Ooh, what's going on in here?" And then you pulled them in.
yeah, I'm pretty sure we did that. We're like, we have snacks.
We've tried to do this fireside chat again with ISA ambassadors, and we actually had like a fireplace over in Hillside Place. So they have an outdoor fireplace, and we started a fire and actually made some real s'mores, and it was a fun time.
That is
But
something I miss over here. They don't do real s'mores in Scotland.
yeah, Liz is in Scotland right now.
I was just gonna ask where you're calling from. It's, wow. What is
Yeah,
it?
I'm going to
10
vet
minutes?
school in Scotland.
Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, bit different, bit
How
later
long
on.
have you been there?
I've been here a year. I actually just passed my first year in Glasgow because I didn't go home
Nice.
during the COVID run, so
Yeah, well, makes
just stayed the whole
sense.
summer.
Yeah, that's cool.
Sorry to cut you off, but we do have students starting to enter. So feel free to leave your videos on, but they're gonna have their videos off. And then I'll just prompt them to start putting things in the chat. And Liz, if you want to like comment on what people say, that would be pretty cool.
Okay,
So I'm letting in Raymond.
all right.
Hi Raymond, it'd be great if you can start using the chat. We have some prompts there. We'll get started in probably about 5 minutes. And feel free to ask any questions in the chat while we're waiting to get started too. For those of you who are just joining us, feel free to answer the prompts in the chat. We'll get started with our presentation at roughly 5:35. Please leave your video and voice muted. There'll be a chance later where you can unmute yourself. Probably check to see if any other students have registered. We'll give it a couple more minutes. We are expecting another alumni to join us. I want to make sure she's not having any technical issues. Okay, I think we can get started. I anticipate some others will be joining us in the next 10 minutes. That seems to be the trend for all these sessions, which is totally fine. I know some of you are probably grabbing dinner from the cafeteria and bringing it back to your room. That's highly encouraged. So please eat your dinner while you sit back and listen to our Study Abroad presentation. So my name is Vienna Leonarduzzi. I am the Study Abroad Program Specialist at Michigan Tech. I work over in the Pavlis Honors College. If you're not familiar with PHC, that is over in the Materials and Minerals building on the 7th floor on the Portage Canal side. So we do have a great view of the canal and the trees. I know the trees are starting to change colors right now, so it's very beautiful up there. Sometimes I see eagles flying around, and other times the seaplane that we have going to Isle Royale daily. So today we are going to have a presentation from our USAC partner, Joel Freeman. He's going to go over what USAC is, where you can go, why you should go. After that presentation, we'll hear from some of our Michigan Tech students who are USAC alumni. So they are those who have been on a USAC program. I myself also done some USAC site visits, so I can comment on some of those as well. The session will end around 6:30, but there's going to be some time at the end for you to ask questions from the panelists, of Joel and myself. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to have Joel introduce himself and he can share his screen.
Sounds good. Thanks, Vienna. Okay, everybody can see the presentation. Okay, cool, excellent. So yeah, my name is Joel Freeman. I am a university relations coordinator with USAC, and I work with a ton of schools located throughout the Midwest, including Michigan State, or Michigan Tech, pardon me. It's the end of my day. And I was gonna say too, Vienna, you were really making me jealous. Usually every semester I come up to the UP, hang out in Houghton, and now I can't do that. And it's usually my favorite trip because I'm also based in Milwaukee, so I always drive up. And if you ever driven that fairly long drive, it's awesome. There's no one there. It's peaceful. It's quiet. You got to be careful for deer. So, but I am happy to be able to join virtually at least and talk to my friends at Tech and to Tech students too. So, so happy we could all be here. I'm going to give a kind of just a general overview of USAC and who we are, options that you have for study abroad. But definitely want to give enough time to talk to the alumni panel and then also leave some time for Q&A at the end as well. So with that being said, I will go ahead and get started. And as you know, the chat is open, so please feel free to add any questions there. So to start, looking at the chat, it's obviously good to know that a lot of you are already interested in studying abroad. You know, that's our goal for sure. But I definitely want to give you some idea of benefits to studying abroad, maybe things that you haven't considered quite yet. First and foremost, we want you to stay on track for your degree. We want the study abroad program that you go on, whether it's for a summer or a semester, we wanted to essentially replace a semester that you would normally take at Tech. We don't want you to have to delay graduation or take extra classes, things like that. We want it to fit in with your academic career plan. It gives you a great opportunity to build a lot of skills for your resume, both tangible that you can add or intangible skills as well. So something like an internship or volunteering opportunity. Perhaps you are doing language study and you picked up, you have a good basis of knowledge of a foreign language. Those are things you can obviously accomplish while studying abroad, but are also things that you can add to your resume as you think about your plans post-graduation. But some of the more general intangible skills as well, such as developing cross-cultural skills. You're going to be learning a lot of ways to be adaptable and flexible throughout your study abroad experience. If you're navigating a new location, new culture, new language, you learn a lot. I think students that do study abroad, upon return, you realize how much you've grown throughout that term abroad, whether it's just a 3-week summer program or a full academic year. So something that's really pretty profound for a lot of students. And then also on a personal note too, you're able to develop a ton of new relationships. I think something that's really unique about studying abroad with USAC is that on any given program, you might be the only Tech student, or you might be the only student from Michigan or from the Midwest on one of your programs and taking those classes. We work with schools all across the US, so you might be in class with students from California or Texas or Kansas or anywhere in between. So it's a really unique classroom environment in that sense, which we really value. And then also not to mention the relationships you'll build outside the USAC cohort. A lot of people make friends, all across the world. And I think one of the cool things about studying abroad is that you have a huge network of people, that you have friends in all sorts of different countries, different cities, all over the world. Really expand your who your friends are and who your personal connections, or who you have personal connections with. And also it's just a great opportunity to experience a life abroad before you start your career. Yes, you're absolutely able to travel post-graduation when you settle down into a career, but it's certainly going to be limited financially or depending on how much vacation time you have with your job. So this is one of the only opportunities that you have to really have an extended experience abroad. And not to mention the benefits of being able to use financial aid and scholarships to help pay for it. And all the credits that you're earning will transfer back to your degree at Tech. So that's obviously a benefit too. And a lot of experiences built into that as well. So a great opportunity to explore before you get settled down into a career post-graduation. So some factors to consider when you're thinking about programs that you might be interested in. I'm sure a lot of you have already kind of, explored some of these factors and thought about them, but hopefully this sparks some new thoughts or new ways to look at things here. So the courses are obviously huge. As I said, we want to make sure that the courses you take when you study abroad are a replacement for the term at Tech. We don't want you to have to delay graduation. So it's really important to make sure that the courses that you take abroad meet the requirements for your major or minor, or some of the general education requirements that you might have as well. USAC has 2 different program models. We have a specialty and a partnership program. And I'll go into a little bit more detail, but depending on what you're studying, one might be more suitable than the other. And then the academic timeline as well. Most students do study abroad their sophomore or junior year, but it's totally up to you. It's really contingent on a lot of factors, and one of them is the academic freedom that you have, in any given semester. So I know a lot of students, the later they are in their particular program, the less flexibility they have with courses. So we'll see a lot of students, especially students that are in STEM, maybe study abroad their sophomore year before they really get into the courses that might only be offered at Tech, or maybe only one semester. So making sure that you plan ahead to understand when might be the best time to go. Cost is certainly a huge factor as well, and something I'm sure you've considered. It is more cost effective to study abroad for a longer term, such as a semester. While it is more expensive as far as the single cost of the program, the cost per credits and all of the opportunities that you have available to you are certainly more robust the longer that you're there. So it is more cost effective, and there are generally more financial and scholarship opportunities available to you through the semester than there would be over the summer. So if you are really reliant on financial aid and scholarships, that's something to factor in as well. Location as it relates to cost, in the sense that USAC has a lot of programs in smaller cities and lesser known locations. And there's a lot of benefits to that, but one of those is that being in a smaller city means that you aren't going to be paying for the cost of living of a larger city in that country. So you'll see a lot of different programs that we have. We have 4 programs in Italy, for example, none of them in Rome. And it's really helpful for the students that the cost of day-to-day life is a lot lower. Your housing is lower than it otherwise would be in those large cities, just as it is in the US. You know, the cost of living, you know, in a smaller city is going to be a lot different than in Chicago or New York or LA, places like that. So something to factor in there. And then financial aid and scholarships. There's a ton of funding available to you through USAC, through Michigan Tech, through the Michigan Tech Study Abroad office, and then external scholarships as well. So making sure that you fully research all of the ways that you can help fund your experience abroad. Certainly, maybe the biggest factor is the location. Obviously, it's a huge you know, it's a huge thing that can sway you one way or the other on where you would like to go. But besides just the location itself, think about more details related to that. For example, the language of that country. Would you prefer to study abroad in an English-speaking country, or prefer to study in a non-English speaking country? If you prefer to study in a non-English speaking country, which language would you like to learn and be surrounded by? We've seen a lot of students also study abroad for heritage reasons, which is a really cool, unique approach to study abroad. We've seen students go to Ireland, we've seen students go to Ghana, Poland, Thailand, to explore their family heritage. So if that's of any interest to you, that's certainly a great factor and something you can certainly do as you decide on a study abroad program. And then also think about the geography and climate. I know as I said, I'm also based in Milwaukee, so I'm not too far from you all in the UP. And I'm used to pretty harsh winters, but I think a lot of students, and I've talked to students before, that maybe you want to escape that for a spring semester. And that's totally reasonable. If you want to study abroad in Costa Rica and take biology and life and health science courses there, and leave in the middle of January or early January and escape you know, upper Midwest winter, that's a perfectly reasonable decision to make. So think about all of those factors as it relates to the location. And then lastly, other considerations, and a lot that might not even be listed, your personal goals. Do you have any desire to perhaps live in a specific location upon graduation? We've seen a lot of students study abroad in China and Japan, and then a couple years later will move back and then live and work there or teach there. A lot of students will study abroad in those locations because they know that they want to return. And that's a great thing to factor in. Think about diversity and inclusion, especially as it relates to your identity and how your identity might be perceived in a new community and new culture abroad. the general temperature of how different countries may feel about those that identify as LGBTQ, if students that might be from an underrepresented population here in the US might have a different experience abroad. So think about all of those factors as well. And then things outside the classroom, experiential learning opportunities such as internships, volunteering, service learning. We have a lot of opportunities available to you. So if that's of interest, definitely seek out those locations in which that might be possible. Looking at the program models here for the two types of USAC programs, we have specialty and we have partnership programs. So the specialty programs are true USAC programs in the sense that we hire all of the staff and faculty that live and work in those locations. We coordinate all of the courses, housing, curriculum, the field trips, excursions, internships, everything. It's a full USAC program, so it's all catered to you as a USAC student. Students on specialty programs will receive US credit for their program abroad, and that makes the credit transfer process really easy once you get back to Tech. Vienna has a lot of systems in place to make sure that you get your courses approved prior to going, so making sure you go through the right planning steps ahead of time, but it makes it a lot easier once you get back. The courses on the USAC specialty programs are a little bit more limited, but each of the locations has a specific focus or a couple of different focuses in particular. So there isn't a very wide range of curriculum on any one given program, but they are very specific. So for example, I mentioned San Ramon, Costa Rica as a good location for bio and life and health sciences, but also Spanish. We have a program in Torino, Italy that has a focus on Italian language and a strong focus on international business as well. So you'll see a lot of different USAC programs having a couple of different main areas of study in those locations. A ton of on-site staff and support, as I mentioned. And the USAC staff that live and work in these locations are there to help you and help provide you with the most positive experience as possible for when you are abroad. So if you have any questions about acclimating to the culture or language, if you need a translator, if you need to go to the doctor for any reason, they can help you there. So they're there to support you for the time that you are there. And they also coordinate a lot of immersion opportunities, such as those internships, field trips, excursions, etc. Again, the USAC courses, all of the classmates you'll have will be other USAC students. And those students are coming from all across the country, so pretty unique classroom. And then moving over to the USAC partnership program. So some of the key differences here is that the USAC partnership programs are essentially exchange programs in which we facilitate for you to directly attend a host university abroad. So this is something that is definitely a little bit more independent because whereas it differs from a USAC specialty program, the USAC partnership program, you will be taking courses with students at that university. So not only might you be the only student from Tech or the only student from Michigan or the Midwest, you might be the only American student in any of your classes. So a very unique and very cool opportunity, but definitely requires an extra level of independence for those programs. The courses on the partnership programs are a lot more wide-ranging because you are enrolling at those at any of these schools. You'll be able to take any of the courses offered. So you have full access to the curriculum and can take any courses, provided that you meet prerequisites, of course. But these partnership programs generally are most helpful for students with trickier majors or majors that the timing to find viable timing to actually study abroad might be a little bit more difficult. So those can be, STEM majors, or we generally recommend partnership programs for you if you are in STEM. On the partnership programs, you still have access to different immersion opportunities, internships, etc. And you do have full on-site support. The only difference is that in most USAC partnership locations, we don't have USAC staff. So you would be, you still have the resources, you still have people that are there to help you for the time that you're there, but they are there to help all international students on that campus, not just those that are on the USAC program is the key difference there. Looking at the actual locations of the two, so these are all of the USAC specialty programs that we have located across the world for summer short-term programs and the semester as well. The general rule of thumb is that most of our specialty programs are programs in non-English speaking countries. Obviously, there are some exceptions within this, but for the most part, they're non-English speaking. So a lot of the programs here, you will have the opportunity to do language study. However, we do not have any language requirements for any program except for one in France. So if you are very interested in taking STEM courses in Valencia, Spain, or you're very interested in taking poli-sci courses in Poland, but don't speak the language of those countries, that's totally fine. You would be required to take some language, but you do not need to have any previous knowledge of those. And then jumping over to the partnership programs here. So the key factor, or the main way to remember these is that these USAC partnership programs are typically in English-speaking countries or countries in which much of the population is bilingual, or the universities have a large offering of English language courses. So for partnership or specialty, most of your courses would be taught in English, with the exception of your language courses. Those, of course, would be taught in that particular language. But for example, partnership programs such as our program in Sweden, you don't need to have any previous knowledge of the language for these programs here. Also knowing that most of you on this call are STEM majors or engineering majors, I wanted to highlight some programs in particular. I can send you more information. There's more information available on our website, but wanted to kind of steer you in the right direction a little bit as you get started. This program here in Valencia, Spain, which is in the southeast of Spain, right on the Mediterranean. So a very ideal place to study abroad. This is a USAC specialty program that is offered virtually year-round. And you'll see on the right side of the slide here a lot of different courses that we have available, and many of them are some of the core classes that you need to take regardless of which discipline within engineering you may be in. So differential equations, dynamics, statics, thermodynamics, etc. A lot of great courses available for those. We have a program in the Gold Coast, Australia as well. And you'll see again, this is a partnership program. So you would be taking classes with local Australian students or other international students at Griffith University in Gold Coast. As you can see, with this picture right in the middle of the slide, Gold Coast is on the eastern side of Australia, pretty well known for surfing and outdoor activities. So certainly a little bit different from Lake Superior or Lake Michigan, what we're used to, but a very nice place to certainly study abroad, and a lot of engineering courses available here. Another program I'd like to highlight is the USAC partnership program in Stellenbosch, South Africa. Stellenbosch is about 45 minutes away from Cape Town, so it's in the southwestern part of the country. And Stellenbosch is pretty well known for its mountains, as you can see in the background, and also their viticulture. There's a pretty robust winemaking industry in Stellenbosch, and they offer a lot of great engineering courses in these different locations as well. Those
Hey,
are
Joel.
just,
Hey,
yeah,
Joel,
go
can you
ahead.
hold your mic closer to your mouth? It's kind of going in and out, the audio.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hopefully this is better. So that was just a quick example of some of the programs that we have that are great for engineering in particular. But you can see there's a lot of different locations that I didn't even mention, including programs in England, particularly our program in Bristol, England, Ghana, Ireland, Korea, New Zealand, Scotland, where Liz is right now, and she can tell you more about some of those locations. So, so a lot of opportunities available to you. So just know that you do have options, not just those that I mentioned in particular. Some of the additional activities outside the classroom that you have available to you. One of the great things about the USAC specialty programs is that the USAC staff on site organizes field trips and excursions, which are included in the program fees for all of these programs. So the accommodations are already arranged for you. And a lot of these are to places that are a little bit off the beaten path, maybe places you didn't think to go to or didn't know how to get there, to give you as full of a view of the country as best as possible, or the region, for the time that you're abroad. Especially, we know that studying abroad, one of the huge benefits to you as the student is the opportunity to travel within that region. You know, a lot of students that are studying abroad in Europe will take advantage of being close to so many really cool different cities and countries and cultures. So we want to kind of complement that, knowing that if you study abroad in France, for example, you're probably going to go to Paris, and you definitely should. It's a great place. But we also want you to see some of the places that are maybe a little bit smaller and a little bit kind of off the beaten path, as I said. We do also have optional tours. These are tours that are at an additional cost to the regular USAC program fees for each of these programs. And these typically happen either before the courses begin or after the courses have ended. And these are typically multiple day trips that with a lot of cultural activities, typically in kind of key hubs of the country or the region in which you are studying in. And for many of these, you do have the option of making them a 1-credit field study as well. There are a lot of immersion opportunities too. Language partners, if you're studying abroad in a non-English speaking country and want to focus on language learning, different community, different sports, etc. So a lot of ways to engage with the local students and local community in which you're studying. And then the internships. So all of our internships are reserved for students that are at least a junior standing and have a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. But this gives you a great opportunity to do an internship in a particular location. It could be related to your major, it could be related to your future career interests, or it could just be something that has always been of interest to you. It's a great way to explore different opportunities available to you, especially if you are exploring what you might be interested in post-graduation. Doing an internship is kind of a good stepping stone for that, especially if you do have the ability to do an internship in a foreign language. That's just a great way to really advance your language skills if you're able to do an internship in Spanish, for example. You just learn so much and a lot of different vocabulary and different ways of using the language than you would in the classroom. So certainly recommend this if this is of interest to you and if it's an opportunity available to you. We have a lot of resources available. We have dedicated program advisors that can help answer general program questions. They'll help you with the visa process, select your housing preferences. They can help with cultural tips and tricks, things like that. We have a scholarship advising team as well, so they can help you with the USAC scholarships, but also external scholarships as well. So if you need any assistance with finding scholarships or with applications, we can help you. And then, of course, check out our websites. You can reach out to us if you'd like to get a past participant list to talk to alumni that have attended the particular program you're interested in. We've got a lot of great content on the blog as well. And most of our blog posts are written by students who have studied abroad on our program. So a lot of really cool testimonials and more personal submissions. And then a lot of info sessions that we're coordinating throughout the rest of this semester. Briefly wanted to mention some of the new opportunities that we have launched, since we're dealing with this new reality. We have online courses and virtual internship options, which are available for the next, for the foreseeable future for both semester and summer. So if you are interested in doing a virtual internship, for example, that's certainly an option. And then we also have a few accelerated spring programs. So these are running concurrently with our regular spring programs, but this is a great way for you to still earn 12 semester credits, but on any of these programs, you won't need a visa. It's proving to be a little bit difficult to secure a visa if you are interested in this upcoming spring semester. So this is a way to bypass that requirement. Legally, of course. Most places you do need a visa to get to, so but a good option for you. Getting started, I kind of walked you through a lot of these different tools that we have. Use the search that we have right on our main page. It's this bar that I have at the bottom of the slide, so you can select what you would like to study, where you'd like to study, and when you would like to study to kind of filter to see what options are available to you. Again, check out all of our resources, social media profiles, blog posts. Talk to us, talk to, if you know of any tech students that have already studied abroad, talk to Vienna, talk to your professors. There's a lot of people that are able to help you and a lot of people that have international experience. So recommend using those resources that we have for you. With that being said, that is the end of my presentation. Looks like we had some questions come through the chat. Is that right, Mia?
It was mainly me uploading some resources. So I don't believe any questions came through, but I anticipate students will start having some questions. So I'm going to introduce the two student panelists we have with us tonight. We have Sydney Monger. If you are able to introduce yourself and let students know where you've studied abroad, and then we'll introduce Liz.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. My video is being a little weird. I haven't really done any Zoom stuff with this computer. So yeah, there'll be no video, but you can still hear me, so that's good. My name is Sid. I am a fourth year biomedical engineering student, but I still have I think about 2 years left at Tech because I switched my major halfway through. And around the time that I switched my major, I decided to study abroad in Accra, Ghana, which is like right on the coast of Ghana, really, really close to the equator. So it's super duper warm and super amazing. Like definitely like a turning point in my life. And oh, it was so awesome. But I went with Carrie Henquinet, who's a teacher in the Pablis Honors College. So it was mainly centered around my minor program. And so I did like classes on public health and we got to explore the area. And yeah, if there's any other questions, I can go into it more, but that's just the gist of it.
A little teaser.
Yeah.
And then we have Liz Scaife, who is joining us from Scotland.
Hi guys. Yeah, so apparently I have developed a little bit of an accent. Vienna has informed me. I sound different than I did. But yeah, I studied abroad in 2016 with the Galway, Ireland summer program. And now I'm living in Glasgow, Scotland. So, you know, just a UK girl now.
And why are you in Scotland?
Yeah, right. I'm attending veterinary school. So my program is a 5-year program that I'm based here.
Right on. All right, so we have prepared some questions. There will be some time after our questions for students on the call to ask questions of our panelists. So whoever wants to go first, I'm just gonna go down my list. We kind of already answered this. Which USAC program did you participate in and why did you choose that program? Sydney, if you'd like to expand a little bit more on what you've already said about why you chose the Accra, Ghana program with Carrie.
Well, it was around the time that I was joining the honors college, and I had like just met Carrie, and then I just saw a poster and I was like, ooh, Ghana. And I was always like, I knew that I wanted to study abroad forever. Like I just love traveling, and the only time that I'd been out of the country before was when I went to Germany and Austria for spring break only. So I saw that and I was like, that's like something that I haven't heard of anybody else ever doing. And I was like, when am I ever going to get that kind of experience again? So I decided to do that. I just went to like one of the little info sessions, and I was actually the only person there. So I got like a ton of information, which was super awesome. Honestly, I loved it. And then I like got to meet you, and I got to meet Carrie more, and it was, yeah. So then I ended up doing it.
And there were a couple other students, I believe, 1 or 2 that also joined you from Michigan Tech. Is that
It started as 2 other besides me, but then it was just me and Maya that ended up going.
Okay. Liz, why did you choose the Galway Summer Program?
I chose it mainly because I was a little bit interested in my heritage, but I found out more that I'm more Scottish and English than I am Irish, so that doesn't pan out. And then I really loved the program because I was able to do get some of my Haas credits. And I did Intro to the Gaelic Language and Modern Irish Literature, and got my nerd on about Irish culture, so it was great.
Cool. Either one of you can go first. What are some of your favorite memories from abroad?
Sydney, you can go first.
I was thinking as I unmuted myself. So if you have anything right now, I still need to think.
Okay. Some of my favorite moments. One of my favorite moments was going to some of the local pubs in Ireland, and in Galway specifically. Like they're very known for their live music, and we went to some of like locally owned and local musicians who just show up and do jam sessions together, and whoever shows up and brings whatever instrument is what happens that night. And my friend group from that program, we did that about once a week, where we just went down just to listen to them, and ended up making friends with one of the like musicians in the pubs. So they recognized us, and like I'm still Facebook friends with that pub owner. And when she found out I was moving to Glasgow, she goes, "You have to come to Galway again." So still have to make up on that promise, but we'll get there.
Sid?
Definitely that as well. The pubs were really, really fun in Ghana. Nightlife in Ghana is like just like Accra has like, I think between 2 and 4 million people. I don't remember exactly, but it's like a very, very big city. And so the nightlife was wild. It's just like a completely different culture. There's also clubs that have like a love American music, but there's also like clubs that are all like Afro beats, Ghanaian music, and it's like the most fun thing ever. Like the best music to dance to. I love it so much. But I would say another favorite thing was I got to learn how to cook like a ton of traditional Ghanaian meals, which was, we would like go into the markets, and like I took a language class when I was there, and we would go into the markets and we would like barter for our for like ingredients. And so like we would have that kind of cultural immersion of like learning the language and interacting with people who like worked in the markets for their living. And then we got to go back and like learn how to cook in like traditional Ghanaian ways. And I bought this like little mortar, like traditional Ghanaian mortar and pestle that was like made of stone, which was really, really heavy, but I ended up bringing it back with me all the way here. I like shipped it back in my suitcase and it was like way, way too heavy. But yeah, cooking was so awesome.
Great. So Liz, you, I think, commented on the courses you took. You took some Intro to Gaelic. Sid, you talked about the public health course. So did you choose your programs based on the course offerings? How did that all work out? Like what came first, the location, then pick out classes, or were you like, I want these types of classes, then location?
For me, I had kind of picked Ireland in general, but I was going back and forth between various cities. So it was kind of based on what courses were offered that kind of eventually sealed the deal about where I wanted to go for me.
Mine was, I definitely chose the location first. I didn't really know what classes I was going to be taking until I like I knew generally like what kinds of things I would like have the opportunity to learn. But I didn't know exactly until I enrolled in the program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's all over the board for students. Like they will come meet with me and they're like, I want to go to France and take language courses. Great, that's easy to find. Or I want to go to France and take some history classes. Great. And then sometimes students just come in with like their list of courses they want to take and they're like, where can I go and get these courses? So there's different approaches, and I think with both it just takes some advanced planning because ultimately, you know, you are there to study. So you want to make sure that you're getting some course credit that goes towards your degree. I'm sure your parents will be happy about that and your advisor. Next question. What is something you wish you knew before going abroad? It's kind of open-ended. I can comment on that. So I didn't study abroad, but when I did a site visit to Italy, this was my first time like ever traveling, I packed way too much. I had 2 suitcases, and mind you, Italy has cobblestone streets and tiny little elevators, if there is an elevator. And you have to take like trains and taxis to get to your place of stay from the airport. And the taxi or the train stations have platforms, and you have to just hurry up and get to your train. So I'm like trying to lug, you know, luggage with wheels, and like they're getting stuck, and like it was just a mess. And I think I had a backpack on too, so I definitely packed way too much.
I would say it definitely depends on weather. Like going to Ireland, I was like, yeah, it's gonna rain, but like didn't really think about how much it rained in Ireland. So like definitely ended up buying some like waterproof pants and a little bit better rain gear and like boots like while I was there. And I've done that since I moved to Scotland as well because it's real. The rain is real here. Other than that, just kind of being more open to approaching locals. Not a lot of people do that, and a lot of locals actually will come up to you, and they're all super nice. Especially in both Ireland and Scotland, I've had a lot of good interaction with any kind of local, any shop you just walk into. Everyone's super polite and friendly, and it's just you have to be willing to be open and inviting to that as well.
I think definitely leave room in your suitcase to bring things back too. That's a big one. Cause I don't think I packed too much because I had that like drilled into my brain. I was like, I cannot do that because I'm notorious for packing I just overpack for everything because I'm an over preparer, I would say. But to a fault. But yeah, leave room in your suitcase or you'll like probably want to bring back another suitcase and that costs extra money and then but I think yeah, what she said about being open to people, I'd like thought about that a lot before because I was meeting, like talking to people that had like studied abroad in Ghana before. I like knew a friend and I had just talked to her like almost every day. And I was like, for like a month before I left, and I was like, how do I prepare myself for this? And like, should I bring a journal? Should I blah, blah, blah? But yeah, being open to like talking to locals is such a big thing, especially in Ghana. Like if you study abroad in Africa anywhere, you're gonna just stick out like a sore thumb, and that's just how it'll be. But it's honestly super, you just get good like interactions with people. They'll come up to you and they'll be like, are you from America? Like, what are you doing here? How did you get here? And they're all so friendly, and it's just, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place, but yeah, it's
No,
super awesome.
I totally get that. And that's what I miss about going abroad is just meeting the locals.
Yeah, meeting new people is so awesome, especially when you know that like how they grew up and how they live currently is so different from how you live back home.
But at the same time, sometimes so similar.
So similar. True. All the
You just think everyone's different, but you're like, oh, there's actually some similarities.
Actually, when I went to, and you'll just like, it's like such a small world like anywhere that you go. I went and backpacked in Italy after I studied abroad in Ghana. I sent my suitcase back with a friend, and I like took my backpack and I went to Italy, and I met 2 separate people that were from Accra, like while I was in Italy, like just in train stations. And it was super awesome. We like talked for hours, and I missed my train with one of them, but it was like super, yeah, it was super sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah, speaking of like meeting random people while traveling, moving over here, my flight to, oh no, sorry. So I went to Germany for Christmas, and my flight to Germany, I met someone wearing a Michigan Tech sweatshirt who had just done one of our exchange programs there. I was so confused.
Really?
And I approached him so like aggressively, probably because I like saw the Michigan Tech sweatshirt, and I like
His name
went for him like a bullet.
Was he have blonde hair? Tall.
Yeah, he was from Dusseldorf.
Yeah, it's probably Sven.
I probably just overwhelmed him because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm from Michigan Tech too. And he's like, oh, who is this strange curly-haired woman coming towards me? And I'm like, sorry, I got excited.
Some frizzy-haired girl approached him.
Yeah, he was terrified a little bit. I was like, sorry.
I have time for one more question because I do want to see if James has any questions for y'all. But what did you learn about yourself during and after your study abroad? So during, and then what did you like learn afterwards, like in reflection of your program?
Sid, do you want to go first?
Oh geez, there's so much, but also when it's asked, I like always forget everything. But I think I know that I want to go back to Africa. That's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that afterwards I was like thinking about it because I met a Peace Corps volunteer while I was there, and I always knew that I like the whole point of me doing like honors college and everything is that I wanted to do the Peace Corps, but like knowing like from my experience there and like feeling like I hadn't been there long enough, I knew that I like wanted to return, and like not just for like Peace Corps because I don't even know if I will or would do it there, but just in general to like at least spend some amount of my life back there doing something that I can, not just to help, but to like live and exist and to learn more, just because it was like so much learning so fast that I like feel like I need to be there for longer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah.
I guess like in the program, I learned more about my independence, my ability to work through struggles on my own and that kind of thing. And then afterwards, also just my social skills, my ability to meet new people and interact with new people and try and make them feel more comfortable around me, so I could learn more about other people and their cultures and just their life. And it's also kind of what pushed me to apply for like schools outside of the US as well, much to my parents being like, you had to move so far away? And I was like, yeah, it's fine. I'm super independent. It's great. But yeah, you definitely learn a lot about yourself in the various situations, even just like funny scenarios that happen to any traveler, you know, like, oh, my flight got delayed, so I had to wait in the airport for an hour and I met this random couple from somewhere near me, you know, small world scenarios. It's just a lot of learning and learning about yourself.
Oh yeah.
I would definitely jump in there too and reiterate that, because I think that's something that I hear pretty often, and I'm sure Vienna you do as well, talking to a lot of alumni and other people that have studied abroad. Gaining that independence, I think the biggest thing that people notice once they've returned, especially if before you're you're a student at Tech, for example, and then you come back after you study abroad and you're still a student at Tech, but you feel vastly different. I think there's a lot of independence that you gain, a lot of confidence as well, feeling that you can navigate any sort of scenario. I think that's one of the biggest things, kind of as I was talking previously about intangible things that you can help build your cross-cultural skills or resume. And that's one of the biggest things that we see pretty commonly is the growth that you have. And then going to Scotland for vet school or possibly joining the Peace Corps later on doesn't seem all that crazy. It seems pretty like, well, I already did it once, why can't I do it again? I've already got the tools and the skills to be able to make it happen. So.
Yeah, Jill, could you comment a little bit about USAC scholarships? James had some questions, and I would just explain to him that since he's an out-of-state student and looking at a USAC program, he'll most likely be paying his Michigan Tech tuition, since that will be greater than probably all USAC programs.
Right.
But is there any specific scholarships that you're aware of right now that James may want to look closer at?
Yeah, we do have a lot of scholarships available. Obviously, with COVID situation, a lot of, we've had to reduce some of our scholarship opportunities available for this current year. But as soon as we're able to send students abroad again, our full expectation is to continue to offer scholarships as best as possible. The scholarships that we have are pretty wide ranging. We have some that are location specific. So depending on where you study, you might be eligible for certain scholarships. We have scholarships that are based on your academic background. So if you are, I think you said you were a engineering student, I believe.
Yeah, mechanical.
So we do have a USAC STEM scholarship, which is only open to USAC students who are STEM majors. So you have that. We have first generation scholarships if you meet that requirement or that eligibility. And then we have general scholarships as well. So James, without knowing all of your circumstances, as long as you have a 3.0 GPA, you'll automatically be eligible to apply for a USAC regional scholarship. So if you study abroad in Australia, Africa, Europe, Asia, etc., you can apply to that one. But you can also apply to the STEM scholarship and then any others that you might be might meet the eligibility for. So usually we do have a lot of scholarship offerings, and then usually we do provide funding to Michigan Tech specifically to award to USAC students from Michigan Tech. So it's a pretty small pool of applicants. So for most tech students, they have right off the bat 3 different scholarships that you can apply for, and those can range anywhere from $300 to $1,000. So it can be quite a significant help for you. And then it looks like Vienna is kind of sending some more info about external scholarships. And we can help advise for those, for any of those scholarships. And also do know that the scholarship that we have scholarships that we have available. It's one application process for all scholarships. So you just apply once, and then we'll make sure that you are eligible for as many as possible. So want to make it as easy as possible for you.
Yeah, and Alyssa Wood over in the Michigan Tech Financial Aid Office, she'll be able to sit down with you and kind of look at some other options. So sometimes students aren't aware that there's other money out there that maybe you can apply to. So you don't know without asking. So you are encouraged to speak with them too about your situation. And then as I mentioned, the College of Engineering has a scholarship you can apply for. One of the requirements is that you have a 3.0 GPA or higher at time of submitting that application. And then I sent some more information on the Benjamin A. Gilman Scholarship. So if you are a Pell Grant eligible student, you can apply for that. And they look for STEM majors, and that's you. And they also look for students who are going to like the less traditional places. So all USAC programs fall into that category. There's some other criteria you can look at on their website, but the main thing is that you do have to be receiving the Pell Grant in order to apply. Then I also threw in some information about the Fund for Education Abroad, and that ranges from $1,000 to $10,000, and that's based on your financial need. So there'd be a form that the Financial Aid Office at Michigan Tech would submit for you, and then depending how high or low your financial need is, then you'll be awarded accordingly. But it's important that you plan your study abroad a year to year and a half in advance, not just for location and courses, but also to budget. I always get so sad when I hear about students like, you know, barely making ends meet, and then when they come home from a study abroad, they're on pennies. Like, I want you to feel financially secure while you're studying abroad. So maybe that's looking at a location where the cost of living is a lot less. So looking at Latin America or Asia, or some countries in Europe like Czech Republic. So if you are already someone who's looking for an affordable program, look at the USAC programs because of their locations not being at major city. But we can also discuss about other program options like our exchange programs. And since you are a mechanical engineering student, you can look at doing your senior design abroad. So maybe you could graduate a little bit sooner, so that will save you a semester of loans. So I do have your name and your email, so I can follow up with some more resources for you. But also talk with your advisor to let them know that you want to study abroad, and maybe they have some ideas in mind for you as well. But the sooner you go abroad, the cheaper it will be, because of the aid that maybe you currently have. It's better to use that while you can. And then you have more flexibility in your courses that you could take. So maybe you want to take some Haas classes and some STEM classes. I will point out that USAC flyer that I sent earlier for Valencia. So that is created for sophomores during their fall or spring semester. We've already figured out the coursework for that. So it'd be Valencia, Spain, for your second year. I forgot to check to see what year you are. All right, I'm glad you got the information, James, and I hope this was informative for you. I'm happy to have my Liz on the call and Sid. It was very nice to have you guys with us, and thank you. Go eat dinner. All right, bye everyone.
Bye.